Hey, it's Byron Morrison here, and today I'm joined by Malcolm, who's one of my first-time CEO clients, and he's agreed to hop on with me and do a quick testimonial video talking about our time together, the work we've done, and the progress he's made. So, Malcolm, firstly, thanks for joining me. And the first thing I'm curious about is, can you tell others a little bit more about kind of where you were when you started this journey?
Yeah. So overall, where I started, I'll start by saying where the company was. At the time, it was a pretty pivotal time for our company. We had done a lot of work on our technology, being a very product focused business. But we were also at a point where we had to bring on more people and more funding to get the product where we wanted it to be. And it was at the time where, we'd been at this for a while and we really need to double down and get some traction on what we were doing. In hindsight, I look back on that and I don't think we were operating as good as we could be and operating like a company. For me personally, I was bouncing around a lot, wearing multiple hats, not super clear on what was most important to be doing week to week, not super clear on what my role should be. And yeah, and because of that, that bleeds into other parts of the business and the team. So I wasn't setting clear targets for myself week to week, and the days because of that felt more overwhelming than they should have been in hindsight. And I wasn't consistent. There would be times where would have a really good, deliverable on something, a good presentation, and then in other days it wouldn't be as good. And I would beat myself up for the times that I wouldn't be at my best.
So obviously you kind of went through this big journey of transformation. A big part of that for you was really kind of stopping thinking like a founder and more evolving and stepping into your role as a CEO. I'm kind of curious, like what for you in your mind have been the biggest shifts and changes that you've achieved since we started working together?
Yeah, I mean, there's been multiple. I think the biggest main outcomes have been confidence and clarity of thought. And where I think that comes from in terms of the weekly and daily habits is just being much more proactive and intentional with everything I do in the business. So it's spending time and booking time to get clarity on what is important for the month, what's important for the week, and get clarity on what you want your life to be like over a 5-year period, and then what you want your company to be like. And there's been other things too. Like I think personally, I've been good with things like staying consistent with health habits, but it's optimizing little things too, like knowing what certain things, and just using those periods where I know I get high energy and can get the most output. So it's even just little things and little nuances like that.
Yeah, it's been really great to see you kind of take the ball and run with it and everything from kind of like your planning to routines to your habits and behaviors. And we've spoken about this a lot of times, but it's not one thing that makes a difference. It's all of those factors compounded that really energize you and get you feeling at your best.
Totally.
Yeah. So I'm kind of curious, like what obviously when we first met, you were going through that stage of growth. You business was growing, you wanted to kind of reevaluate yourself and how you were leading. Like what made you decide, you know what, I need a coach and guide to take this to the next level?
I think the simple answer was I was under enough pressure that I knew I needed an upgrade. And then, I think part of it too, I think deep down, I think everybody knows and has an ideal vision of how they want to be, how they want their life to be, and how they want to show up on a consistent basis. And I had the vision of, how I wanted that to be, but I knew I was far from that. And I didn't want to coast or get there by luck. And so this is my way of making a decision and a commitment to actively do that. And yeah, and so far I can say it's definitely paid off. There's always going to be work to do, but it's everything is a lot more intentional in that respect.
Yeah, I think from my end, probably the biggest kind of contributing factor in your kind of growth in the work we've done has been very much kind of like the weekly kind of recalibration of really tracking everything. Like these were the challenges you were facing, and then going back to it, and really being like, okay, what do you need to learn? How do you grow? So rather than you just kind of going through being stuck in the trenches, it's that active reflection to really push you forward.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Completely agree.
So was there anything that kind of held you back and stopped you from really kind of moving forward with this?
Yeah, initially when I think back to when we first started, I mean, we were a small company, limited resources, and the financial commitment is initially, that's a big one that can cause some friction in taking a dive into something. And there's always a thought with going into a program like this, especially one where there is going to be time, but also the financial commitment, that it might not be the real deal, and it might not be worth it. And everybody, I think, would might have a fear like that. I'm happy to say that that hasn't been the case, and it's certainly paid off. So yeah, I mean, like that can be that can definitely be a point of friction for deciding to take on a program.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people have that fear. It's like almost like, what if this doesn't work? What if I waste time and money? And yeah, it's been such an inspiring journey to see you, because we've been working together for like close to a year now. So it's kind of a long period to get to know someone. So kind of seeing that kind of growth you've created has been amazing. So kind of as a final question to anyone kind of watching this now thinking, do you know what, I want to do this program and move forward with this. What advice would you give them, or anything you'd say?
I think what I would say is, if you look at people who are top at their field, top athletes, for example, they have team coaches, but they also have their own personal coaches as well. If you listen to podcasts of top performing executives or top performing tech CEOs, they talk about having their peer groups where they have ideas where they bounce off of other executives, of other founders, CEOs, and they also have their own personal coaches or an equivalent of that as well. And so, I would say top performing people take care of themselves. They get the support and surround themselves and hire the people that they need in order to be their best. And I guess the last thing I say is the way you show up is going to affect anything in your business. And, you as a founder, is the most important thing, especially in the early stages when it's just a small team. So, one way to look at it is just think about the cost of not doing it. What is your company and your life going to look like years from now if you don't make some kind of commitment to change and improve? And that's what I would say to anybody who's on the fence of considering something like this.
Amazing. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that, because I think we've spoken about this quite a lot in detail. I also obviously speak about this in my book, where unfortunately a lot of CEOs become the bottleneck, because when they're not performing at the level they need to, decisions don't get made, opportunities get lost, frustrations build in the team. And unfortunately, that's why so many businesses go under. So yeah, really proud of you for kind of recognizing that and also kind of taking the ball and running with it. And it's kind of a big part of the reason why you guys are kind of pushing to that next level now. So yeah, I appreciate you kind of getting on and kind of filming this and kind of sharing your story. And yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having me.